Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. We are doing a special edition kind of thing this week, and we're going to be doing Barbenheimer. So today is part 1 of Barbenheimer, and tomorrow, in a super duper late showing, is part 2 of Barbenheimer.
I just realized we did a super early showing today and then a super late showing tomorrow, and this is going to be wild.
We should have done the other way around.
Right?
But, so today, part 1 of Barbenheimer, we went and we just saw Barbie in theaters, and we had a super early showing because we had to beat the crowds, and it's actually been kind of interesting just watching people coming into the theater for the later showings, because there's like 4 or 5 showings happening at once at our theater, and everybody is just dressed up in pink, and they're dressed like Ken and Barbie, and it's actually just really cool to see people just going across. So if I get distracted, that is why. But because I'm going to be entertained, you must be entertained. So we must begin our entertainment on Entertainment Rebooted with a quick 1 to 10. DJ, 1 to 10, what do you think of the film?
I'm going to give it a 9.
Okay, why?
It was... Okay, so one of the things I really like to focus on with the films, not just entertainment value, but like the mechanical things about it, you know, cinematography, story, plot, character, stuff like that. I really enjoyed the shots in this film. The cinematography was just a lot of fun. They do this thing where they take a mixture of live action shots mixed with stage prop shots, and they do a really good job of making them feel unique from each other, but blending them when necessary. It reminds me a lot of like the film techniques used in like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, where they did animation against live action.
Yeah.
Similar kind of ideals of making them feel like unique worlds that were clashed together. That was really well done. I really enjoyed a lot of the cast was really good. The acting was solid. The plot was it was purposefully messy. At least it feels purposely messy. If it was messy on accident, then it still turned out well, but it felt like purposely messy, but still easy to follow. And it was just fun. It was just stupid fun.
It's fair, absolutely.
But I would normally give a film like this usually like a lower score, but technically it was actually really well done. It wasn't just like a dumb film for film's sake. It was technically well put together.
Yeah, definitely. For me, I'd probably go with an 8.
I almost was going to do an 8,
yeah,
but I gave it a little more just because I think expectations were broken by it being so technically well done.
That's fair. Yeah, I give it an 8 because it is overall very good. It's a very enjoyable film. Not the best film of the year by any stretch of the imagination, but it's creative, it's fun, it's unique, it's a good property. The casting is absolutely just mind-blowing, actually. If you really think about it, every single person did a very good job in their position.
Even the extras.
Yeah.
Like, everyone did well. This was like, everyone was a blast.
Yeah, exactly. And not only that, it seems like everybody had fun with the project, but they took the project seriously. So that's something that's like, with comedy films, sometimes they struggle with the actors are really into the project, but they don't have fun with it, and so it comes off weird. Or they're really into the comedy aspect of it, and they don't take the film seriously at all,
yes,
and it loses out on the actual like serious moments. This film feels like a very good blend. They had a very good cast and crew running this film, so I give it an 8 because it is a very solid film. It's very entertaining. I think that there's enough in it for the advertisements are actually accurate. If you hate Barbie, you probably will like this movie, and if you don't, and if you love Barbie, you'll like this movie. Yeah. Because there's enough in it, and there's enough story elements to it that...
I didn't think of that. The advertising, right? I kept wondering what that meant, and now that I've seen it, I kind of understand what they meant.
Yeah, so the advertising was not just blowing smoke off people's rear ends. It was actually pretty accurate. The one thing I'm going to knock it for is it tried to hit things that were a little too big for Barbie, so sometimes it got a little muddled. Sometimes what they were trying to get at seemed to get muddled.
Especially towards the end. That's why I knocked it down a little bit. Like, to be fair, an 8 probably is more, but I give it a 9 because I just enjoyed it. But no, you're right. Especially towards the end, that third act gets really muddly. and it kind of loses its message because it tries to put too many messages in it at once.
Yep.
But yeah.
Yeah, it should have really focused on a couple of key messages. I think it tried to tackle too big and broad things for it to really hold up very well. So the third act's kind of messy. That's why I knock it a couple of points. Otherwise, it's a very fun film. If you're going to go out and see it, I recommend it. It's a fun film. But if you wait until streaming, you're not really going to miss out on anything.
There's nothing that really makes the big... Well...
Unless you're going with friends dressed like Barbie.
Yeah, this is like you go to the theater because it's a fun group activity.
Yeah.
I don't know that it necessarily gets anything out of the film experience it wouldn't get at home unless they have like a really tiny TV. There is a lot of color to it, so that if you've got a decent like color device at home, you're gonna get some really good like imaging out of this. Yep. Other than that, yeah, for the theater versus at home, I don't know that it'll make a huge difference, other than just a friend thing.
Absolutely. We'll go ahead and we will go into spoilers. So spoilers. I can't believe that Barbie died in the end.
Gosh. Actually, she kind of did.
She kind of does.
She kind of does.
She becomes human in the end, so she will die.
She actually, well, she dies as Barbie and becomes a person, so she kind of does die, actually. It's a joke, but at the same time, it's kind of not wrong. So, a big thing for me, like when we talk about like the messaging, the muddling of the messaging, this film actually has a really fun way of like making fun of things while bringing attention to real problems. So it's like the big plot of the entire thing is like the patriarchy takes over the Barbie world, which is hilarious. Like they do a really good job of it. And they actually make a good point that the real world isn't quite as patriarchal as like the idea of it, and Ken like takes it and runs with it and makes it the stereotypical like full-on patriarchy, which is hilariously done. But there is a good moment where they're just like, Barbie's for girls to help them see what they can be, but then they realize the real world's a little different. Girls grow out of Barbie way sooner than they thought, and like the mom...
And people have lost the message of what Barbie is. Barbie really is a feminist icon if you think about the idea behind Barbie.
Yes.
And it gets lost because a lot of people don't realize that, yes, Barbie is, stereotypical Barbie. That's her character. But the idea of Barbie was all the potential. Like, you could dress her up as all of these things because, one, little girls like dressing their dolls up with these really fancy outfits and stuff, but the message behind the doll was... Barbie can be anything because you, as a girl, can be anything.
Right.
So you can play anything.
Which, in actually, the beginning, when it's like girls could only play with dolls, but they were only kids, and it's like, it's fun for a while, but that was actually a great thing in, because originally dolls had one purpose, where Barbie could be anything. Yeah, you can have baby be... I've seen girls play with Barbie where they make them the little baby and feed them, but they'll also have them be a business mom. They can a lot of them imitate their own moms with it, like whatever their mom was. Mom's CEO of a company, so she'll make a little CEO Barbie. Mom's an astronaut, so she makes her a little astronaut. Or they'll imitate what they want to be, or their imagination. It's very imaginative, and the movie does a really good job of taking that to its extreme to make it hilarious while still acknowledging the purpose behind it.
Yeah. Which I thought was really cool that they actually went back and, like, the CEO's not a great guy. Like, he's kind of the antagonist, but it's later revealed that the real antagonist of the film wasn't even Ken. Ken just was frustrated because of...
This is another movie where the true villain is like...
The idea.
The ideals of reality, but it's done well, like a lot of Pixar used to do. That's right. Where they make the villain... There's not a real villain.
And the other thing is,
during the movie,
everybody can be redeemed. Everybody is redeemed at the end of the film, because the thing is that it was like, Ken brings about the patriarchy in Barbie Land, but the thing is that it came about because Barbie Land didn't care about Kens. Like, the Ken doll that brings about patriarchy was Beach Ken. He didn't have a job. He didn't have a purpose. He was just Beach Ken. He couldn't even swim. So he was ignored. Barbie didn't care for him very much, and like his entire life's purpose was to be with Barbie and for Barbie to look at him. but she didn't want to. So he didn't have a purpose. So he tried to bring it about to be like, hey, I want to be a person. Like, I want to be heard. I want to be cared about. I want to be a part of this. But you're not letting me because I'm just Beach Ken.
Even
so,
yeah, the whole thing with Ken and the war, and then they end up like getting along, and they're just, the attention span is small. But Ken and Barbie are like the ultimate stereotypes of men and women. It's like, Barbie can be anything just like women can, but she's like just figured exactly the same, and then Ken's are all just like the boyfriend, and so they're very stereotypical, and so it's very much an exaggeration of reality. When she gets into reality, she sees things are a little more muddled than they really are, and it's a very interesting juxtaposition when they go from the real world to Barbie Land, and they go back and forth several times between all the different characters. And there's a lot of, I actually thought it was going to be a lot more like Enchanted, where like she goes to the world and
becomes disenchanted.
And then stays. And then, this one, there's a lot of back and forth.
Yeah.
And even like the people in the Mattel, like, isn't really the villain. They're just trying to like fix things.
They just want things to go back to normal, just like Barbie. Barbie just wants to be Barbie. But then eventually she starts realizing that she doesn't belong in that world anymore because she's become aware. And Barbies aren't really supposed to become aware. They're supposed to be what girls become. But because she's stereotypical Barbie, she doesn't actually have a purpose.
She was the best one to like move on, because all the other Barbies have a specific job or thing they do. Whereas this Barbie is just Barbie. She doesn't really have... She's like the original Barbie with all the different clothing change out, so she could be anything. It was kind of like a soft point, and the moment when Ruth was like, things like patriarchy, Barbie, all this stuff, these are things we create to make things simpler, because reality is way more complex than that. And the movie does a really good job of saying, look, the ideals, bad things of these things do exist. There are real problems in the world. The speech given by America Ferrera's character, the mom, where she's like, women have to deal with all these things because they're always trying to appease everyone else, other women, men, and it was like a point that like broke the Barbies out of their thing. This is part of the thing you were talking about. Like, there's so many messages like given in this film. There's legitimate issues being brought up, but they happen so fast and at the end that they almost feel like they fall flat. Because they're not referenced the rest of the film. Even after that, before and after, there's this one moment where they're like, she's giving this speech, and then they don't really ever reference it for the rest of the film.
Or they don't give an actual solution.
Yes.
They introduce a problem, and they make the big thing about it being a problem, and then they don't actually give a legitimate solution, and it just gets solved. Like, the idea of, like, eliminating the patriarchy and bringing back Barbie Land and restoring balance. That was, like, a whole thing. But then when balance is restored, they kind of bring up the fact that, it's always Ken and it's always Barbie and Ken.
Yeah.
It's not, it's Barbie and it's Ken. It's Barbie and Ken.
Yeah.
So
they're a package deal.
Yeah, they're a package deal. So they kind of bring up the fact that maybe just because they're a package deal doesn't mean that they can't be an actual thing. And it's, Ken is Knuff.
That was funny.
So it's like they bring all this stuff together, but then when they finish that arc ish, it doesn't actually resolve, because
I feel like that's what the Ruth thing was supposed to do.
Yeah,
it's saying, because I think it's hard to tell, but because it kind of rushes at the end, but I feel like that was the point. Like, in the Barbie world, things were just solved so easily, but that's not how it really works. The Barbies are they have this great little mission thing, and then once they accomplish their goal, they're just like, all right, back to business as usual. And they're like, well, maybe not. And then when it gets to the Ruth comment where she's like, look, Barbie's fake. It's an idea. And ideas change and evolve, and there's never consistency necessarily.
And you can't control an idea. Like, as much as she had a vision for Barbie, Barbie grew like her daughter did.
Yes.
Like the real Barbie, Barbara.
And that was Barbara. Yeah. So that was the thing. Like, the whole thing is like that separation between the Barbie world where everything just even when it wasn't perfect, things are easily resolved and things just work, and it's very unrealistic, but that's the point.
Yeah.
Barbie is the ideal, whereas the real world is how things actually happen. But you can cross. Like, Barbie world can learn things from the real world. Like, you don't have to be perfect to be okay. And the real world can learn things from Barbie. Like, sometimes solutions are there and you can learn from them.
Yeah.
And it's that crossover where they're learning from each other. While still having that juxtaposition of two very different worlds smashed together.
Yep.
It was just an interesting concept that I think loses itself a little bit at the end, but I think it's because they tried to push too much in there right at the end, where they could have put some of this in there a little bit earlier,
and some of it is just really complicated. Like, some of the ideas are very complicated. Like, Barbie just becoming human is a complicated idea, because it's like, okay, yeah, she's human, but like, how does that work? The last joke was great, though.
that was hilarious. So,
like, some
she's
of the
looking
jokes,
forward to
jokes are spot on.
Yeah, the looking forward to something that most women dread was a very good way to end it. And this movie is definitely very much made for women, and I get that. Like, they're having, you know, plenty of women in life. I've seen the very things they talk about are things I've seen, I know, and they're real problems that they deal with. And it was definitely pointed towards them, and I feel like that moment at the end where she's giving the speech is more just so that the people in the audience can go, yeah, that's what it's like. Which is fine. The problem is it just kind of comes out of nowhere and gets thrown away. It would have been kind of nicer if they'd almost kind of put a little bit more of that throughout the film, like she was dealing with that.
Yeah.
So that felt like a solution to Barbie. Like, oh, wow, being a woman is rough because of all these things. Yes, that's true. But she never really was one long enough to really feel that till the end, and now she's going to learn that that's what it's like.
Yeah.
When it after the speech was given rather than before.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack with this film. It's just like, it's an odd choice how deep and messagey a comedy film is. You know, like, you don't go into a comedy film expecting to be dealing with these, like, massive ideas.
Unless they're played for comedy, which they do.
They do.
They do a little bit,
yeah.
but you're right. There's a lot of heavy-handedness with some of the messaging.
Which is odd for Barbie.
Yeah, it's just...
Yeah.
Well, it's fine if they just... There's like the young girl is like going straight up, the capitalism, patriarchy stuff.
Yeah.
Like... And it's played off to be funny because it's that's to show that her and her mom are so different.
Yeah.
Like, she's like extreme one way, her mom's a little different. There's other people. They meet a very of characters that are very different, like persuasions and ideas, which is really fun. But it's played off more for like to be funny.
Yeah.
And then at the end they have like a serious note of sudden like realism, and you're like, okay. All the other times this was done, it was played for laughs. Is this actually the message? But then they just kind of don't talk about it again. That wasn't for me. It's like, it just kind of came and went too quick. Yep. If you want to push that a little more, triple it in a little earlier. Maybe it was, I just didn't notice it as much. Maybe if I go back and watch it knowing that was in there, it might hit harder, but...
It went in a little bit. Like, the thing is that the movie was fairly consistent with some of its ideas. The issue I had with it was very heavy-handed, and then it didn't actually give a real solution.
Yeah.
But that's just kind of how, like, I'm wired.
Yeah.
It's like, if you bring up a big idea, like a big issue, at least bring about the beginning of a solution.
Or a resolution to the characters.
Or some sort of resolution. Yeah, so it's one of those things. I enjoyed the film. It was good overall. I mean, the jokes were on point. I really enjoyed it.
It was hilarious.
Yeah.
I was laughing so hard this entire movie. It was freaking hilarious.
And the other thing is that it's comedy that's like, it's very aware of what it is, which is also like very good, but it's not like to the point where it's like heavy-handed over meta.
No.
They have one time where they break the fourth wall.
Yes, and it's super well done.
Yeah, because you're not expecting it. Because like they're literally talking about like female body positivity and the idea of like, you know, you're not perfect.
You're not
you don't
perfect.
look the same. And then it literally stops the movie and goes, note to the executives, it's hard to push across this message with Margot Robbie.
If you want to push across this message, don't cast Margot Robbie in the role. That was funny. That was really funny.
Because Margot Robbie looks exactly like a Barbie. Like it's perfect casting.
It is actually really casting, and Ryan Gosling's Ken, and like I said, everyone, even the most side characters are brilliantly done, and they throw in all the throwaway Barbies that they've made over the years and Kens and different things. All of them.
No, probably the best casting I think was his name's Cecil, right? Is it Cecil? What is the name? Ken's friend.
Oh, I don't. The friend's name?
Yeah, the friend.
I don't.
Cecil?
No,
it's not Cecil. It's
I can't remember now.
Alan.
He was great.
But that's actually really great casting for Alan, because they picked Michael Cera, and he's weird and awkward, and you kind of forget he's around, and then you see him, and you're like, oh yeah, him. And then it's like, they're talking, they're like, we need to make a world that's better for Barbies and Kens, and then it just skips over to him, he's like, and Alan.
And Alan. I'm Alan. All of Ken's clothes fit me.
Ken's clothes fit me.
It's so fun.
It's me, Alan, Ken's friend. That's literally like the advertisement.
This movie was great. It was absolutely great. It's worth watching, honestly. Just if you have friends, go in the theater and see it with friends, because and honestly, I'd like this movie to do well, because movies like this, when they're good and fun, and even like it has a good message, it's just a fun, like, it's a little messy, but it's fun. I want films like this to do well, and to encourage more like them. So yeah,
absolutely. It's just a fun film. We enjoyed it. All right. Hopefully, Oppenheimer doesn't just blow up our world.
It'll blow up Bobby's world.
No, it's going to blow up Japan.
Oh no, John! No. Oh gosh.
The fact that Barbenheimer became a thing is ridiculous, but
it's hilarious.
It's fun though.
It's hilarious.
So yeah, we will be back with you guys with part 2 of Barbenheimer. Tomorrow we are going to see Oppenheimer, and we will give you guys our honest review of that film. Speaking of honesty, if you like this film, or not film, video. I always say that. If you like this video, be sure to give us a like and let us know in the comments how we're doing. What did you like about this film? Are you more looking forward to Oppenheimer than Barbie? What films are you looking forward to this year? Otherwise, be sure to share us with your friends, and if you haven't already, subscribe for more videos like this. Otherwise, I think that's about everything. So, well, you can follow us on Facebook at Entertainment Rebooted and Twitter at Exposition Sickle, and we will see you guys in the next video.
Thanks for watching.